We're going to be talking about how to empower moms and how to empower grandparents to really achieve a much better effect, and we call it the Shackley effect. And today, we're very fortunate to have Dr. Helena Krupa with us. She is a holistic healthcare provider for kids. The name of her business is Plumtree. Not only does she have a private practice where she works with children and their parents, but she's also very involved in the bio-nutritional care, which provides hope for the autism community. And you can see that Helena has a blog, drkrupa.wordpress.com, that you might want to visit, as well as her own personal website, drkrupa.myshackley.com. So today Helena is going to talk with us about how to help our kids and our grandkids thrive in a world of toxins and allergies, and why Helena, after she has really done a lot of her homework and investigating, why she has chosen a company called Shackley to introduce into her practice, which is a very holistic company that has been involved in a century now of breakthrough innovation in the field of natural health. And this is actually the 100th year anniversary of Dr. Shackley creating the very first multiple vitamin in the United States. And it just kind of reconfirms the legacy that so many of us have had toward innovation and helping people live better lives. So Dr. Shackley believed that nature held the answers to a long and healthy life, and that each one of us can make a difference in the world. And he founded this company on the philosophy of empowering people to improve every day, every aspect of their life. So, Helena, we want to welcome you, and we want to talk a little bit today about healthy kids and what they really need. And I know that you have been very involved in helping moms and grandparents live a healthier life. So let's start with this and talk to us a little bit about the needs of kids.
Thanks, Elena. Thank you for the introduction. I'm so happy to be on this call with everybody because I I love kids, and I'm intimately involved with families who are looking for these solutions. So I chose Shackley products because they're safe and effective, and of course green. And once I tried them, I wanted to share them with family, friends, and all my practice members. And we're going to talk about what do kids need? What do they need in order to thrive? Most of my practice members are kids, but I feel like, it's the kids first, then mom, then dad, and the siblings. So I really take care of the whole family. It's important. I got nicknamed Dr. Mom the other day. What an honor. This little 4-year-old girl, her mommy was saying, okay, say goodbye to Dr. Krupa, say thank you. And she's like, bye, Dr. Mom.
Oh,
that was really
precious.
sweet. So do healthy kids need some very basic things? Rest, exercise, a toxin-free environment at home and at school. They need a healthy diet from real food, and they need essential nutrients. They're critical for their development. Oftentimes, when people are looking for holistic solutions to their kids' health challenges, they don't necessarily know where to start, or symptoms don't make sense to them. For instance, one kid may complain of growing pains, or another has allergies and eczema, and people are wondering how all these connect and what do they connect to. So, and I ask a lot of questions in my entrance form, when I get to know my families. It's usually 4 pages long, and I always say, bear with me, but we need to know everything that's going on because everything relates, and it's oftentimes related to poor nutrition or toxins at home and at school. So, do your kids get sick often? Do they suffer from allergies, asthma, or chronic ear infections? Do they suffer from mood swings and erratic behavior? Do they suffer from learning challenges or poor concentration? Now, some of the facts that we are encountering these days with children are alarming. For instance, overweight kids. The number of overweight children and teens has doubled in the past 10 years. Type 2 diabetes. The incidence of type 2 diabetes is rising quickly among kids. Asthma. On average, 1 out of every 13 school-aged children has asthma. Immune system. Kids miss an average of 8 school days per year because of health issues. Physical development. Poor nutrition negatively impacts bone growth and overall physical development. And it is so important for the kids to be meeting their milestones of growing up on time and properly. Because if we miss one, then it affects all the others. For instance, there's a link between children who skip crawling and go straight to walking. They tend to be predisposed to dyslexia. ADHD, learning and behavioral problems, autism, they are often linked to household and school toxins and lack of nutrients, and we'll talk more about that. And it's really interesting and also alarming on how these can affect negatively a child's development. And also when we do remove those toxins and load up on nutrition, on good nutrition, how that can help.
So, Dr. Krupa, I know we're going to now start kind of talking about some toxins that are in the home and allergies that are probably related to all of that. What percentage of children in your practice do you find actually do have allergies?
I find that 80 to 90% of my practice, children have allergies, and oftentimes they're hidden, or it's something that we need to test for because we have other symptoms. For instance, we have the asthma or we have the eczema, and when we look deeper, there are all those underlying, let's say, gut issues. And once we address those, the things that are on the surface, the symptoms, they go away. So at least 80 to 90% of my practice is kids with those manifestations.
Wow. So I heard you just say you have to look at the gut, but also you have to look at how to kind of clean up possibly a toxic home. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's in the average American home?
Yes, absolutely. And remember that everything is related. So all those toxins, for instance, that I'm going to talk about, they affect every system of the body, including the digestive, the immune, the nervous. So it's all related. The average American home contains about 62 toxic chemicals, and the majority of household products are toxic and harmful. Toxic chemicals are not disclosed on certain product labels, and more than 80,000 synthetic chemicals produced since 1940, less than 2% have been tested for toxicity and carcinogenic effects. A classic is red number 40. That's what makes the lollipops red, for instance. And that chemical was invented in the 1940s and 50s, and actually has one of those that has been tested and proved carcinogenic, and is still on the market. And I often tell my daughter the reason why she can't eat certain things, and of course she gets mad at me, she resists. But I want that, why? She finally, and I explained to her, that this affects you in a negative way, and she finally looked at me and said the other day, well, then why do they put that in the products that we use or in the food that we use? And I unfortunately had to just say, I don't know, honey. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. Chemicals are attracted to and stored in fatty tissues such as brain and breast. And those are the prime targets because of their high fat content or composition. So when we're exposed to them, the body tends to grab them and put them away in those places in the body. And cancer is the number one killer of women between the ages of 35 and 54. The primary suspects are laundry detergents, household cleaners, and pesticides. And now we know with breast cancer-friendly products, right, deodorant is one of those where we see the pink ribbon, and there's certain ones that eliminate the aluminum, which has been directly linked to breast health. So it's a toxic world out there. Even though it's on the shelf in our supermarket, doesn't mean that it's safe.
Right. And I guess the question is, what's under each one of our sinks? This could be a major contributor to some of the problems that we're talking about. So it's the question of, do we have these kinds of products? They're dangerous for so many reasons. And do you want to talk a little bit more about what's under other people's sinks? I know it's not under your sink, and it's certainly not under my sink anymore once I learned about some alternatives.
Well, our Pine Sol, Tilex, bleach, right? Those are things that are commonly underneath our sink. And Windex, all the things that we associate with a clean home. Carpet cleaners, they are linked to cause cancer and liver damage. Chlorine and bleach is most frequently involved in household poisoning. So, right, the baby opens the bottle, and there you go. Degreasers damage lung tissue and dissolve fatty tissue around nerve cells. So what would that mean, for instance, if the child was exposed to these? It means that it's damaging their nervous system. Glass cleaners, harmful fumes irritate respiratory system. Mold and mildew removers cause acute respiratory irritation. I personally, if I smell bleach, I immediately get tightness in my chest and I have to leave the room. I can't handle it. Oven cleaners are one of the most dangerous cleaning products because they cause severe damage to eye, skin, mouth, or throat. Toilet bowl cleaners are harmful to health simply by breathing during use. So just the fumes themselves affect our body.
And, something that I've learned about bleach itself, I know it's been used for years and people have, been living with this. Doesn't mean it was safe then and it's not safe now. But bleach is actually a neurotoxin which can affect the brain. So it's causing a lot of child poisonings in not only just, with ingestion, but just with inhaling it. And I don't know if many of you know about Dr. Doris Rapp. She is an MD, and she is an environmental doctor who began to identify the correlation between children and even their parents and environmental illnesses. And she's written a book called Is This Your Child? So you might be interested in finding that book. But what she began to do was to really look at that correlation. And here is the handwriting of children that were actually exposed to chemical cleaners. This is from her book. And these students were exposed specifically to the Lysol disinfectant. And Dr. Rapp did know about non-toxic cleaning products and the company Shackley that represented that. And so she began to do some different kinds of testings. And here we see actual handwriting of children that were exposed to Pine Sol, Lysol. And then after those cleaners were removed from the home, you can see how the handwriting, cleared up. It's beautiful, beautiful. And then they tried reintroducing those cleaning components again, those toxic cleaning components, and you can see again that the children's handwriting were definitely affected. So the fact that it can affect brain health is really very scary. And I know we're talking a lot about the problems here, but I feel like it's important to at least identify what the problems are because some of us are aware, some of us aren't, and we're going to get to the solutions, aren't we, Helena? But let's talk a little bit more about asthma, that strangler within us.
So asthma affects about 20 million Americans. Asthma in children has quadrupled over the last 30 years. And 1 out of 13 children in the U.S. has asthma. Detergents as well as other household cleaners cause asthma-like conditions. Chlorine is a major offender. Like I said, I can't even smell bleach. I'm affected right away. By choosing non-toxic and toxin-free cleaners, laundry, and personal care products, this can sometimes make a dramatic difference. And so we're going to talk about the Shackley line of cleaning products, and we also have personal care products such as deodorant and soap and shampoo, and those are very important because if you smell it, if you put it on your skin, right, it still affects your body. Things can get absorbed through the skin, through your nasal passages. If it's in your environment, it can affect you.
That's right, and I think it's so important to recognize that the White House, even the presidential White House and the vice president's facilities, are now being cleaned with Get Clean because they understand the impact on environmental issues, both in groundwater but also within the buildings themselves. So that Get Clean products are being featured there, as well as Shackley Get Clean products were featured on Oprah in 2008, and her number one favorite product that she introduced on her show was the Basic H, and she gave all of her audience the Get Clean kit. So
I know. I saw that episode, Elena, and it was so funny. She's like, "Oh yeah, just a little bit works really great," and it's true. That's what I found as well. Just a little bit of it. And it has so many uses. When I was first introduced to Shackley, Julie gave me a piece of paper that listed about 100 uses, and I went through them, and I thought it was amazing. I said, wow, I could use this on, to wash my floor, but I could also use this in the bath. And I believed it, but it just took me by surprise that the product can be so clean and so healthy. It's a really healthy alternative for what we have going on. And I just wanted to add two things about this whole, cleaning products in terms of being environmentally safe. I just heard a talk on the public radio yesterday how the beads, the microbeads that we use in our body washes are affecting the fish in the Great Lakes because they're not biodegradable. So they kind of float around in the water. And, the fish eat it, and then we eat the fish with the microbeads. So Shackley products also make sense because they're healthy for your family, and you're not going to experience all these, allergic reactions. But there's a bigger picture here, too, which means they are healthy for the environment. They are, you don't want to be eating microbeads in your fish, do you? I don't. I don't like my kids eating that either. Mm-hmm. And also remember that in the commercial cleaners, there's a lot of antibacterial chemicals. And all that is doing, we're thinking we're doing a good thing because we're helping our kids, wash their hands, let's say, with some antibacterial soap. But in fact, what we're doing when this goes down the drain into our water system is that we're making super bacteria. Because the bacteria, as an intelligent life form, are responding to this because this is attacking them as well, and they're becoming stronger. And it's been harder for us to fight the common infections because the bacteria are changing. So food for thought. I think this is the way to go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. And we know that a lot of children today have food allergies and sensitivities to things like meat, milk and gluten and corn and eggs. And do you want to talk a little bit about that as well?
Sure. That is my holy grail in practice. Food allergies and food sensitivities, because I have some myself and also my daughter, Kaya, my oldest. So, and again, like I mentioned before, food allergies and sensitivities can affect our overall health. For instance, we're a gluten-free household, and becoming gluten-free has helped me to handle some, digestive problems, but also some arthritis that was creeping in a few years ago. It was very concerning for me because I use my hand in my profession. My daughter, who had seizures for a while until she was 4 years old, I was able to manage them naturally by helping her go gluten-free. So this is a big deal. This isn't just, I don't feel good or my tummy aches. This does affect our nervous system, our digestive system. And the milk, wheat, gluten, corn, eggs, nuts, and peanuts are the big offenders. They're usually the most common ones that affect us. And when, let's say, you get tested for them, you'll see that your body is reactive. And you want to eliminate those in order for your immune system to calm down and for the gut to heal. And so your child can get better. Mm-hmm. Now, some of the symptoms from food allergies are bedwetting, persistent colds, stuffy nose, chronic cough, recurrent ear problems, recurrent nosebleeds, hyperactivity, poor attention span, irritability, pale skin, dark circles under the eyes. I see that a lot with kids, leg and muscle cramps. So when we eat these foods, our body reacts negatively. Okay, they don't get digested properly, and our immune system says, this is no good for me, basically. This does not belong in my body, and it has a reaction. And the reaction is some of these symptoms that I just mentioned, like nosebleeds or hyperactivity. So this is how it's intimately connected and how it works in your body. And I believe that most of us, even when we are healthy, my health nut parents, we are still sugared out. We ingest so many carbs during the day. Carbs are easy. It's the cereal, it's the cookie, it's this, it's that. So on average, I really believe that we need more proteins in our diet, and we need to cut down on cereals. If you look at the next slide, it talks about sugar in cereal. So Honey Smacks, Apple Jacks, Fruit Loops, Cocoa Puffs, all the ones that we see on the shelf in our supermarket. Think about it. We're feeding this to our child maybe in the morning before we send them to school with some milk, and then we expect them to sit still and concentrate when they are ingesting a lot more sugar than their body can handle. It's kind of hard, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to be the teacher with, let's say, 10 to 15 kids who's just had a bowl of Honey Smacks, right, with all that sugar in it. It doesn't help them concentrate and learn. It's too much. We are not designed to handle that much sugar, especially these little bodies. And then
a lot of hidden sugars too.
Yeah, there's a lot of hidden sugars, like ketchup and fruit-flavored yogurt. That's about 14%. Ketchup has about 29%. Peanut butter, 12 to 25%. And, of course, sugar cookies, 25%. Hershey bar is 35%. Cakes, ice cream. Those are things that we tend to eat on an everyday basis, and we need to be more conscious about how much sugar our kids ingest, because it does affect them.
And it can cause these learning and behavioral problems that we're going to be talking about next. So, what are the factors? What are the factors for some of those problems? That damage the brain.
Some of those are the food sensitivities, like I said, especially gluten. Let me just briefly explain, what does that mean? How does this work? When you ingest gluten, which is a protein from wheat, kamut, spelt, a couple of grains, if you have a digestive tract that is not up to par, that is not functioning 100%, it begins to look like Swiss cheese, basically, inside. And through those holes, that undigested gluten protein gets through to the bloodstream, and it goes to the brain. And in the brain, it excites the nerves, so it makes them fire when they're not supposed to. So children can be hyperactive. It shows up as hyperactivity. In my daughter, I believe it contributed to the seizure activity. And all sorts of, it makes the body, let's just say, not work the way it's supposed to, right? Bad bacteria or yeast in the gut from, let's say, prolonged use of antibiotics. We have that ear infection, right? We give Johnny the antibiotic, and it sets off this mechanism where then it disturbs the balance of good and bad bacteria. The bad bacteria overgrows, right? Or it causes a yeast to overgrow as well. And then we have symptoms, right? Some of them, one of the most, I think, severe is children who have self-injurious behavior, or, they tend to be aggressive towards others. Sometimes they have an overgrowth of staph bacteria in their body, and that this is how it affects them. So the digestive tract is very important. It's actually where 80% of our immune system, is housed, or this is where it begins. Stress is another factor that can affect the digestive tract. The damaged digestive tract shows up as weakened immune system, inflammation, or brain behavior disorders.
Mm-hmm. And, we have a couple examples here of actually a little girl by the name of Lindsay who at the age of 5 was diagnosed with autism and ADHD. And you can just see some samples of her handwriting here when she was in first grade. And so she was labeled as that. She had mood swings, poor sleep habits, all the different symptoms. And I think what's really encouraging, this gives us hope as parents and grandparents, that even though your child might have that, there's things that you can do to eliminate it, what we've just talked about, through a clean, non-toxic environment both at home and at school, but also beginning to feed these little bodies the right kind of nutrition and support. So we're going to talk about some of the protein smoothies and multiple vitamins and B complex and vitamin C's that we can give them. And there is a program that children can get on that really does help to improve their learning capacity. So we know that 9 out of 10 children are sensitive to all those things like artificial colors and sweeteners and different things that are in ingredients in snacks and drinks, and even in vitamins. But we're going to be talking to you about recommending the Shaklee smoothies, the Shaklee protein bars, things that are clean, that don't have any artificial sweeteners and colorings and flavors or preservatives. And this is a quote from one of my friends whose child was labeled as autistic and ADHD. And she just said that her youngest son began to call the Shaklee B complex his B complex. So because it made him feel so much calmer, and that those symptoms were beginning to, be less and less. So the longer that he was using it, the more that his body was positively affected, and he was beginning to thrive. And he's now in his second year of college, and Anne is absolutely thrilled with the results of how good nutrition and good clean environments have helped that. So would you be willing, Helena, to talk to us more about a natural approach to health? Because I think this is important for adults as well as the kids that they love and support.
Oh, absolutely. That's my thing in practice. I love to empower parents to get involved and help their kids. So let's talk about some nutrients. This is really key, and you can do so much. You can make a huge difference in your child's life by just including these in their, in their diet and their lifestyle. I trained in bionutritional care for autism, and that's the crux of it. That's basically parents from a grassroots movement who figured out what's really going on and how to help their kids. And super helpful and super effective. So let's start with the B complex. So B complex is, we need that, especially children need a good supply of Bs because they're the happy vitamins. They help convert food into energy. They're essential for brain and nervous system. They form protective antibodies and healthy red blood cells. And they're depleted by sugar, carbohydrate, snacks, alcohol, caffeine, and stress. And for those of us who are dealing with very energetic children, that maybe labeled ADD, ADHD, they're super bright and their brains and nervous system just works faster. They especially need the B complex because literally their nervous system burns them up faster. So they need a good supply and they need a quality B vitamin complex that is actually going to be absorbed. And we offer that with Shaklee. B vitamins reduce the risk of heart disease, depression, and anxiety. Hearing loss, they prevent birth defects, cervical dysplasia, colon cancer. And they're recommended for irritability, fatigue, hair loss, anemia, brain function. So do you think moms and dads and grandparents need to get on them as well? Yes. We all need B complex. And remember, there are happy vitamins. And then nutrients for optimal learning. So omega-3 fatty acids. I know a lot of you have heard of those. They're super, super important. they are in the Shaklee Mighty Smart. The Shaklee, I think they're in the Mighty Smarts, right, Elena?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, they are. And Shaklee, the multivitamin, we all need a multivitamin this day and age, and with the food supply that we have, it's super important. In Cryovites, we have a chewable, vitamin B, like we mentioned, the calcium, magnesium, super important for kids too as they're growing their bones and developing. Optiflora is our probiotic, which is also super important for our guts. It's the first step in trying to heal a child's digestive problems, whatever they're going on, from constipation to diarrhea to whatever is going on. Probiotic is super important. And ours is triple coated, which means it gets to the lower colon where it's most important. And it's a tiny little something that they can swallow. So it's really
tiny
good.
Little pearl. It looks just like a little tiny
Yes.
pearl, doesn't it? Mm-hmm.
Tiny pearl.
Very
yes.
easy. I find when my grandkids were just, like 1 year old, they could very easily swallow it. So it's
right.
It's a great thing to get in their little guts.
And probiotics, there's so many choices on the shelf. And just remember that a probiotic, in order to be effective, has to get down to the lower digestive tract, and most of them don't. And they, a good probiotic is not the $4.99 kind, and sitting on the shelf. You have to invest in a good probiotic. And then lastly, we have protein. So we have smoothies. I love smoothies as an option for our breakfast. I want to send out my daughter to school with, leveled blood sugar so she can concentrate and learn, and it's super easy in the morning. Just make a smoothie and off they go. And proteins are super important for kids because it helps them heal and it helps them grow. We need to like I said, I believe most of us are sugared out. We need to go back to a good source of protein.
Here, well, we can talk about those proteins right now, Helena, if you want to.
Let me see. Where's our slide? Okay. The protein shakes, they repair and build new cells, like I said, stabilize blood sugar. They help the immune system because our immune system is basically made of proteins. They prevent fatigue, improve healing, and healthy, shiny hair, skin, and nails. And we have several options in Shaklee. There's a special protein shake for children, but all the protein shakes that we have are okay for you to give your child. We have an energizing soy protein and also the 180 shakes and the meal bars. That's how I actually got introduced into Shaklee, because I lost all my postpartum baby weight in about 3 weeks with the 180 program. So I love that. I was very impressed with that.
Okay. And we can go back to what is really, really good for kids, and that's the Incredivites that I know you recommend to your moms and dads to give to their kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Absolutely. Our Incredivites are the staple. I think if there's anything else, if there's nothing else, start with the Incredivites and the DHA. They do have DHA and omega-3s, which again,
called Mighty Smart. That's right. That's Mighty Smart.
Mm-hmm. And they're
kids love these. Kids
yeah,
love
they do. I know. I had them
on
my I had them on my display, and every time my kids come in, they're like, Dr. Krupa, can we have one? Can we have one? Because they taste really good, and the texture is chewy, and the orange flavor. And sometimes it's hard to get kids to eat the omegas, and because of the taste. But these taste really great.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit more about those probiotics. I know you mentioned that there's a lot of them on the market, but you've chosen to really support your patients with the Optiflora probiotic because of the triple encapsulation, and it protects the acidophilus and the bifidus and the other probiotics from the stomach acid. So is there anything else you want to share about the Optiflora probiotic system?
I think that's it. We really need to include that in our children's diet. It's really important.
And especially if they've been on antibiotics or have had any kind of drugs or medications, we can destroy that very sensitive bacterial flora. So, Dr. Krupa, go ahead.
There would be one more thing that I would add is that sometimes parents, let's say a parent comes to me and says, well, he or she, especially when it's a young child, has not had any infections or I haven't given them antibiotics. I think they're okay. Remember that you have to take into consideration the birth process. If a baby has been exposed to something in the hospital, that can also be, their first source of imbalance, or if they have been C-section, because children are supposed to come through the birth canal and what's called colonize their body. So they don't. Right off the bat, their immune system and their guts are not, they don't have that balance of good, bad, because they get the bacteria. They're exposed to it, passing through the mom's canal, and if that doesn't happen, then they're a filter. So that's something to keep in mind as well, that doesn't have to be dramatic, such as repeated use of antibiotics, but just the birth process itself.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk now about the difference, because I know that in your practice, as well as just for a grandparent or a parent to walk into a grocery store, there are so many options. And you talked a little bit earlier why you kind of have done your investigation and your study, and you have chosen to use the Shaklee products because of the difference. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the safety of these and the proven effectiveness?
Absolutely. I was very impressed with the Shaklee difference. It's safe, they're effective, and the fact that the company has been around for so long. For instance, there's over 80,000 annual quality control tests that are done on the products, from raw ingredients to the finished products. I like that. I think that's important, right? There's guaranteed potency. So there's third-party verification of botanical ingredients. There's guaranteed purity. So 350 contaminant tests conducted on each new botanical ingredient. And we have 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you buy something and you feel like it's not working or you don't like it, you can always return it, and Shaklee will send you a refund. I mean, can't get that anywhere else. I love that. But the products that I have tried and keep on, including in my life, they have exceeded my expectations. There's $300 million invested in testing, research, and development. So I know that whatever it is that new products, let's say that the company's coming out with, I know that there's research behind it, that it's not just someone said or someone tried. And we, especially when we have challenges with our kids, we want something that works, right? We want to get it, we want it to be effective. We want to get the results. We don't want to experiment on our kids. There's 100 published clinical studies. That is a big deal, because that means that our peers have reviewed these results, and they're proven and they're accessible. So any parent that wants to check out, things on the Optiflora, or how does gut health, how is it affected by introducing probiotics? It's all there. It's all listed. You can go in and look. And we have 60 plus patents. So it means Shaklee is doing their homework, right? They're a leader in nutrition. We all, well, not all, but all of us in Shaklee have heard about the landmark study, which showed that Shaklee long-term supplements users have markedly better health than those who took only multivitamin or no supplement at all. So as parents, you can feel good about taking these products as well, and making sure that they're making a difference in your health. We're always green, so there's no artificial flavors, no artificial sweeteners, no dyes or trans fats, no hidden fillers, no animal testing, no banned substances, and no chlorine bleach. Super important when I know the parents that are already implementing, for instance, certain nutritional approaches to autism or to ADHD, That is the number one concern. Okay, what else is in there? They're very vigilant about reading labels, and we all should, because there's hidden sources of, fillers, sweeteners, and all sorts of things in vitamins that are on the shelf and that are labeled natural. So you can be sure that when you invest in the Shaklee difference with, from beauty products to household cleaners to the nutrition, that you're getting the best of the best.
Right. So any of these items that you see up here can be substituted. I mean, things that you would buy at Walmart, Kmart, grocery stores, drugstores, Costco's, are alternatives, and then you know that they're truly safe and effective. And I really want to thank you for your time, Dr. Krupa, because I know that your heart is really into making a difference for your patients. You want to see results. And by you making a commitment to that and your patients, they feel comfortable with you. And I know that you do 15-minute consultations. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I am always available for a 15-minute consultation if you have a question about Shaklee products and how they can help, or if you have a health concern and what to use. I have this health concern. What would you suggest? I'm always open for that. And I do so appreciate this opportunity, Elena, to create this webcast, because I found myself at a very vulnerable time at one point, especially when my daughter was having seizures, and I couldn't find anything else except for the conventional treatment, which I wanted to try something else. And I remember being that parent, that I didn't know the answers. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know where to turn. So I'm very passionate about spreading this message and talking about this, because there are answers, and they do work, and they're natural, and they're safe for our kids. So anyone out there who has a concern, please, I'm here, and I'm here for you, and I understand it's such a vulnerable place to be, especially when the challenges are affecting your whole family, because when a child is not doing well, let's face it, it affects the whole family system. We want them to thrive, and they deserve the best. Our children deserve to thrive, and they deserve the best.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
you have a blog, drkrupa.wordpress.com, for people to go to and check out, as well as if anyone's interested in looking further into the Shaklee line of products to clean up their homes, drkrupa.myshaklee.com is the place that they would want to go. And on the right-hand side of the page, we have Always Safe, and we have some information about Incredivites versus Flintstones and children's health. So for $1.46 a day, parents can be providing an excellent foundational kids pack for their children. So, Dr. Krupa, I know we have an intention to bring more of these kinds of talks to the audience, and so we look forward to future conversations with you about how we can continue to support and empower moms and dads and grandparents and help our kids thrive. So, thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciate you.
You're very welcome. And please, give us some feedback. You can email me, Ellen. I think maybe your information is listed there as well. And give us feedback. What is it that you want to talk about? What are your health concerns? And we will definitely talk about that.
Yes, excellent. Well, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day, and thank you, Dr. Krupa.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.